Howdy folks. Today we're going to do a little bit of a different video. And that video, as I'm sure you can plainly see and guess, what is NASA? On my recent appearance as a guest speaker on Rise Above over in England, big shout out to those guys and to Rob Esoteric Knights Malta, Inner Guardians, and Sheep Farm. And what the flock, how you doing guys? Here's the thing. People don't really understand what NASA is. So on some of my solar weather reports that I do, people believe that it's baloney, it's not real, because it's from NASA. Well, that's where you're absolutely wrong. You have to understand that they are a reporting government agency, aka a corporation. Okay? Every single one of the listeners listening to my voice, if you have not claimed your sovereignty and your straw man or your birth certificate, you are a corporation. You associate yourself in your name with your corporation. Look at your driver's license. It's your name in all capital letters. That is a corporation. When you sign something, you don't sign it in all caps. Just the first letter of your first, middle, and last name. The rest of it is all lowercase. Do you understand that? Okay, there's no difference with NASA. They are a reporting government agency. In fact, if you come on over here, look at this. NASA. NASA government brings you the latest news. They're no different than Fox, CNN, ABC, NBC, BBC, CBC, whatever. They're a reporting agency. Do you understand? Of the American Space Agency. Okay, that's it. What they do is they take information from these satellites and then they tell you what the news is. No different than a news reporting station from a mainstream media. Does that make sense? Now, where there's a little hitch of a difference is that NASA also has the public sector for launching things into space, like satellites. Okay, every single one of these satellites that I show you guys, whether it be SOHO, or SDO, or SEEDS, or even stereo ahead, or stereo behind, they don't own these satellites. They own the authority and right to remove things from them that they don't want the general public to know. Well, how can they get away with that? Because every single one of these corporations that own these satellites have to sign a waiver allowing NASA to do that. Because they have to use NASA spacecraft to get them to launch them into space. The only way they can get up into space is if they allow NASA to go through and remove data. Does that make sense now? So everything that I'm showing you, when I show you things going on LASCO or anywhere, when I'm like, oh, here we go, missing data, I'm showing you the data that NASA removed. Okay, whether it be on, like I said, SEEDS, from Stereo Head, on Solar Dynamic Observatory, SOHO, Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, any of it, same deal. Now, here's the other part. If you guys remember my podcast on Rise Above, I did mention corporations, and I did mention Ruby Slippers, the Straw Man, the TIN tax identification number. If you guys remember, I did recall the Wizard of Oz, and we touched on that a little bit. I was bringing the corporation part up for a reason. Okay, they're also part of the Kabbalah. Okay, if you guys aren't sure about the Kabbalah part, let me show you. Look at their symbol. See this symbol? That is a forked tongue like a snake. A snake tongue. Now, if that's not enough, like, well, maybe not. Well, let me do this. Let's go back here to NASA. Watch this. I'll just tap on it. Snake tongue, right? Oh, look, a dragon. Dragons have a serpent tongue, like a snake. Forked tongue. This right here. 4-man team. Look at this. S, serpent, snake. Come on. How much more in your face does it need to be, folks? You know what I'm saying? Now, that's one part. Here's another thing. Like I said, oh, excuse me. Not there yet. They do not own the satellites that are used in space. They don't own any of them. They don't even own the International Space Station. It is a multi-government project that was put into space. It's not NASA's. Okay, now, Do they have some of the most high-tech recording devices as far as like camcorders, video cameras? Yes, they do. They also own the rights to that, so there are certain images that they will not allow to come out. Some they do. But you have to be able to really get in there to look for things in order to find anything. Like I had shown Lance and stuff on that that one image, because I go through several of their images. Sometimes NASA misses things. That's where I come in, and others that are like-minded like me, and we look through all of these photos, and we're really looking for the fine details that NASA's missing, or that they're putting out there, and they intentionally put it out there. So we have to understand, NASA is just a reporting agency. Now, one of the other tools that I use here is SolarHim. I also use this. This is our solar flare detector. Okay, this is on Go 16. Sometimes this gets manipulated. However, but down here towards the bottom, we don't have to worry about that. KP index, geomagnetic field, and aurora. They don't own this because this is a private corporation that owns this. And they're here on Earth. So they can actually measure our KP index. NASA has nothing to do with this. Some of the things that I use, some of the tools that I use, NASA has nothing to do with. They can't control it. Same thing with this. When we're having our X-ray absorption, this is right here on our planet. All of these sensors are here on our planet, and they are not owned by NASA. That's why this is extremely accurate. That's why our KP index is extremely accurate. So we have to be able to use discernment. They give us truth, they delete truth, and we have to be able to see the truth through the stuff they're not reporting on. And that's the big deal. Okay, let me show you something here. This is NASA's. This is NASA's inlet, and this is the other thing I want to show you guys. Look at this. Look at the name of it. Enlil. It's their Enlil model. They proudly call it Enlil, and it's referred to by other reporting agencies as Enlil. Who is Enlil? The Sumerian wannabe god, ancient being. Does that make sense? This is their model. This is NASA. They own this one, and that's why you'll get the most recent. They won't show you all of them. European Space Agency actually does a better job than they do, surprisingly. Now this is owned by the Space Weather Prediction Center. NASA does not own this, okay? And it's the same thing with, and they actually call this model their NOAA model, N-O-A-A. Yeah, NOAA, as in Noah's flood. Kind of, they use two A's instead of an H, but NOAA. So it's not owned by NASA, but it's privately owned, but that doesn't mean that they're not part of the corporate system and part of the bullcrap. That's why I use multiples. I'll use NOAA, I'll use Enlil, and I'll come on over sometimes and I will use the European Space Agency. Let's come on over here and check them out really quick. Come right over here, current space weather. On my tabs, I use multiple agencies across the globe. Here we are, and look what they call it, euphoria. That's kind of an interesting thing. But when we look here, you can see we've got a spiral model coming off here. We've got a coronal mass ejection, but if we watch, you'll see another one. Boom, there's another one, and there's another one. See, this one actually reports, when they keep up on it, when they actually update it, they actually report on multiples. So that's why I use multiple different sources to try and find exactly what's going on, kind of like triangulation, if that makes sense. And that's the best way to try and find as much truth as possible, is to triangulate from multiple sources. I hope this brings a little clarity to everyone. And just remember to keep your eyes open, no fear, and love is the only way forward.